Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Smash JT. You know, ever since Nintendo randomly announced on Twitter the other day that they're coming out with virtual reality on cardboard, I've been racking my brain as to what they could potentially make with this in the future. And not just demos of games and sticking your head in the butt of a bird and flying with it, but what else you could do with this. The first thing that came to mind when I saw the camera was Pokemon Snap, but I wasn't alone on that. I saw on Twitter a lot of people coming up with that idea. It was not unique by any stretch. So a lot of people would love to play Pokemon Snap or some sort of version of that using the Labo camera virtual reality system. That would be pretty amazing. But one thing even more spectacular would be if they found a way to bring back the history of Nintendo, even though it's a failed history, something that's kind of a black eye on their resume, something that people make fun of them for. But at the end of the day, the Virtual Boy was pretty fun for what it was, and at this point it's so expensive to buy it on eBay. Why not have a Virtual Boy collection? JT. Now hear me out on this, because I used to have the Virtual Boy. I sold it way back in the day before I realized that I wanted to keep it and be able to play it in the future. I thought I'd just be able to pick it up again, but holy crap, that thing shot up in price. You buy them online on eBay or even on Craigslist, they're like $300 or $400 if they're working, coming with games and the battery pack and a working controller. If you want a functional Virtual Boy, you're going to be spending a lot of money for it. And coming from Nintendo, having this Labo, having virtual reality, it just makes sense to add these games as a way to play them on a Nintendo console officially. Up to this point, Nintendo's never even had virtual reality, so they've never had the potential of having these games come back in any real virtual reality form until now. And I am foreseeing something Nintendo could do with this, and the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. But I talked about this with my Nintendo 64 Classic Edition and how I felt like Nintendo was going to come out with a controller and a game cartridge and bundle that up and sell it for the Switch. I feel like that's something they could do with the Virtual Boy. Think about the possibilities if they came out with a Virtual Boy collection on cartridge physically and they sold it with a cheap headset. And for the customers that already purchased this Labo VR headset, they'd be able to just play the games via digital download. If these games were available, they would sell like hotcakes, because I know a ton of people that would want to relive what it felt like playing the Virtual Boy, and I know even more people who have never played the Virtual Boy and are extremely curious as to what it even felt like to play some of those games. Yes, the Mario game was pretty basic. It was just a 3D reimagination of Mario Brothers, but Wario Land was a super fun game. Nestor's Funky Bowling was a blast to play, and there are a slew of Japanese releases that never made their way to America. So this in itself gives a gigantic opportunity for Nintendo to bring history of their games back to life and preserve the games for the next generation to be able to play them. Like I said, the way the Virtual Boys are, if you look on eBay right now, the vast majority of them are either broken, they're missing their headpiece, they're missing the battery cover, there's a problem with the controller, the neck piece that held the thing up was snapped. There are so many issues with the stability of that entire system falling apart from the get-go that it would just make sense to bring these games to the modern era. So if Nintendo was not thinking about this, Nintendo, do it. It would make a lot of sense. I know a ton of people that would buy it. If you put a collection of all the games together for 60 bucks, that would blow people's minds. Just the ability to go back and play these games, have an official Nintendo headset, playing official Nintendo Virtual Boy games in the modern era of 2019, that would be insane. I want it to happen. It needs to happen. If this Labo virtual reality thing is going to take off with Nintendo, they need to have some sort of buying proposition for the customers to want to join in. And for the people that don't want to put the Labo together, like I said, just have a cheap plastic headset that you can buy and put the Nintendo Switch into to be able to play those games and have it work in conjunction with the cardboard Labo, so that way you get everyone together able to play these virtual reality games from Nintendo. They already exist, and while I don't get too much into the technicals, I would imagine that it's very little work to transition the ROMs of these Virtual Boy games into the Nintendo Switch hardware to play them on that screen. But I'd be very interested to hear where you guys stand on this. If Nintendo came out with a Virtual Boy collection, would you buy it? Would it be something that you'd be interested in? Or do you feel like the Virtual Boy doesn't need to be brought back? It was kind of a stain in Nintendo's history that they don't want to relive once again. I'd be very interested to hear where you guys stand on that. That's all I got for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing.